Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Brendan and welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, it's great to have you. And today I'm going to be explaining why the stock market is undervalued. Now, if you guys don't remember, this is actually part 2 of a 2-part series where in the first part, I explained why the stock market was overvalued. And in this part, I'm going to be explaining why the stock market is undervalued. Now, the entire reason that I am doing this is to make sure that we all keep our heads leveled and we don't get too tunnel visioned with everything that's happening in the world right now, because there are always two sides to the coin, and it's very important to look at both of them, especially when we're talking about spending and investing our hard-earned money somewhere. So for the sake of argument today, we're going to be talking about why the stock market is undervalued, and in order to understand that, we have to understand why it even crashed in the first place. Now, there's really two reasons that really caused this catalyst of events that made us go from bad to even worse. Now, the first one, of course, which is what this article is about, is the pandemic that we have been dealing with for pretty much the entire duration of 2020 so far. I'm sure you guys are aware of it, but for the sake of my channel and me not getting in trouble on YouTube, I'm just going to refer to it as the pandemic. Now, the secondary reason why we actually had this market crash was from the great oil crisis between Saudi Arabia and Russia, and the sphere of influence even kind of spilled over even bigger than that. But for the most part, what we're actually seeing is that the great oil crisis is getting wrapped up, or in the least is at a much better place than it was at, a couple of months ago. And the pandemic is certainly at a better place than it was at a couple of months ago. Countries are willing and learning to adapt to what caused this and how to get a better day-to-day lifestyle back to normal. And businesses are beginning to work with governments on how to get employees back to work. Now, the whole reason that this went from bad to worse is that because industries like travel and cruises and planes and a lot of manufacturers weren't able to go to work because they were essentially they were afraid that they would continue the spread of the virus and that things would just begin to snowball, which it very well could have. But now, with the entire reason that the markets crashed in the first place from the pandemic and the great oil crisis starting to decline, which I actually have on a chart over here, with these actually starting to decline in the recent month or two, what we can only assume is that since the entire causes of what made us go down so much have begun to dissipate, so should the reason and the economy's reason for staying this low. So if we're able to start getting half of our workforce back in, the economy should be stimulated, because what this should promote is an increase in spending. Now, the laws of economics are buy and sell. If you are buying and selling, if businesses are selling and you are buying as a consumer, that is what stimulates the economy. If an airline is selling a ticket and you buy it, that's going to stimulate the economy. If you go to a store and you spend money, that is going to stimulate the economy, which is why we were hurt so bad, because less people were working and essentially more people were staying at home. So the money that they did have was going towards essential needs, and they weren't spending it on the new iPhone, or they weren't spending it on the new TV. The only thing that you could argue that they were spending it on is maybe cleaning supplies, food, or even a subscription while they were locked in a quarantine. But what we're seeing is that since the quarantine is starting to dissipate, which is one of the heavy reasons why people were unemployed in the first place, the very reason that we were so drastically down in the markets has begun to go away. And I want to make sure that I emphasize this right now, but this is not going to be a boom, we're recovered by next month. Boom, we're recovered by the end of the year. This is going to be over the next 12 to 24 months. We're going to see the world economies, all of them, start to go back to normal, whether that's dealing with the virus, whether that's entirely getting rid of it, whether that's a vaccine, whatever that may be. Over the next 12 to 24 months, I think we are going to see, a lot of this go away. We're either going to learn to work with it or we're going to eradicate it in the next 1 to 2 years. So with that happening, one can only assume that if that was the cause, and with the cause going away, prices should begin to go back to normal. Now, there were a lot of bankruptcies, and I know we talked about this, but I mean, even some of the bankruptcies looked like they have not even been touched by this. Hertz went bankrupt, and immediately they went up like 80%, a day or two after their bankruptcy happened. The Federal Reserve, in fact, has said that they are nearly willing to print as much money as necessary to stimulate the economy for as long as needed. I mean, we have seen them hold up. We have seen the indices absolutely refuse to go down once this money printing process has started. Now, when we're looking at this decline, again, I can only assume that this is going to continue in a downward motion from here. Again, people are worried a little bit about a wave 2. That's the only thing that I think that could really do in the economy. If the Fed is backing the United States stock market and they are willing to print almost an indefinite amount of money to help stimulate and keep it stable and to keep our economy on the ropes, then I think that there really isn't much that we can do as an individual to fight against that. No matter how much money you have trying to short that, you are not going to beat someone out that can print money faster than you can make it. And it's just that simple. I mean, they have so far printed trillions, and they said that they are willing to print trillions more. So the way that I look at this, if a global pandemic like we've never seen anymore happens during one of the worst economic crashes, during a great oil crisis, during everything else just, going to crap. I mean, whether that's riots or, whatever it may be. I mean, just an absolute crazy year. And the markets are still already willing to recover. I mean, again, look at some of the indices like NASDAQ almost back up to all-time highs. If that can't crash the market, it begs the question, what can? Now, I think that we are eventually digging ourselves a little bit of a hole, maybe 5-10 years down the line. I think we're going to start seeing the effects of what this did to the United States dollar and the economy as a larger macro play. But for the time being, if the Fed is willing to print as much money, and the very reason why this all happened in the first place is slowly but surely starting to go away, the stock prices and a lot of these businesses should start to go back to normal as well, since the very cause of them coming down is now going away. I mean, it's like having a scale and then weighing one side down and then slowly but surely taking that one side of weights off the scale and then seeing the other side start to rise again. That's much like the effect, or like an hourglass effect. We have turned the hourglass upside down, and slowly but surely we are getting rid of all of the sand out of one side and putting it into another. And that's really the way that I am viewing this scenario. Now, there are certainly going to be, great dip buys here, and there are going to be other ones that are not so great. So I'm not telling you guys what to invest in. I'm not telling you guys how to trade, but for the sake of argument today, I wanted to explain why the stock market could be very undervalued for the time being. Now, hopefully this did make sense. I didn't want to rant too much, but I wanted to explain myself thoroughly in a way that I thought made sense. So if this did make sense, guys, and this did help you out, make sure to drop a like and a comment, and maybe even subscribe if you guys want to see more content like this. Again, if you guys have any questions, I would absolutely love to answer those in the comment section down below. So feel free to ask away right there, and I will try to get back to you guys as fast as possible. Once again, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.